Hello, welcome. This is a first on my channel, and it's probably the first tutorial I've done actually, so just bear in mind, it hasn't got any professional equipment, anything like that. Anyway, right, without further ado, well, crack on with the tutorial, shall we? Because I put it on Instagram, and, you guys came back with some, fantastic responses. So, this is a tower ethereal. We're just going to paint him up. Right. We've got the Fang. Get yourself, a good sized blob, because you've got to cover the whole of him here. So, yeah, put him down your palette, and then just let it down with a little bit of water, which is, about that sort of consistency, which you can see it sort of comes off the brush sort of quite smoothly, but it's also quite transparent, it's quite thin. So, right, you're just looking to base coat this quite sort of steadily over the whole of his face, really. So it doesn't matter if you get it on any other parts at the moment, because we're not looking to be a perfectionist, not at this stage anyway, because this is just base coating really. So as you can see, nothing too special, nothing too fancy, just really getting in the main bits of details. So it's just getting a nice base coat over him. You want to work it into the, the nooks, the crannies, and the finer details. So we're back. We've just applied 2 thin layers of the Fang. Now you want to grab yourself Russ Grey, which is a layer paint, which means it just contains a little bit less pigment than a base colour, which again, thin down as much as possible. You can always add thin layers, you can always add more layers. It's very difficult to take layers away, so keep it thin is the main sort of thing I'm striving for it. That's it, yeah. You'll see the paintbrush go off to the side. All I'm doing is just grabbing some water from a pot, that's all, and then mixing it up to get to the right sort of consistency, really, which you can't see very well there, but it is there. So yeah, and at this stage we're basically just going over everything that we've painted with the Fang so far. So all the flesh, we're keeping it nice and thin. Again, you don't need to be precious, just get it in all the nooks and crannies. The Fang was there as a base colour, so this just as a layer paint, shows that base colour slightly through, because that's what you want. The whole idea of painting is just to build up colours. And that's it. You don't want one colour overpowering the other and such. So yeah, keep it thin. It'll turn out all right. That's it. Yeah, paint all your flesh. And there we are. Really, there's not really much to it. It's that simple. Keep it thin. Keep it simple. Hello. We're back once again now. As you can see, I've allowed the miniature, I think, about 20 minutes or so to dry in between the coats. The Fang's now completely dry. Again, it's left the details nice and crisp, so we can carry on to the next step. And the next step now will be to add a wash. And for this, I chose Nuln Oil, as you can see here. And it gives quite a grungy, gritty effect, really, so that's why I chose Nuln Oil. As you can see here, I'm just applying a small amount to the palette. Not too precious, because this is how I tend to paint my miniatures, quite grimy really. So yep, there we are. And basically it's just a case of slapping it on. You want to go quite liberal with it so that it sits and sort of pulls in all the darker recesses, but you want to move the wash around so it doesn't pull too much on softer areas or on flatter areas, but you want it to sink into the details so that it brings them to the forefront, and it gives a really nice sort of recess shading. You want that, but at the same time, as I say, you don't want it to pull to the extent that you've got like a black spot on a softer area or on the top of his egg, for example. You don't want it so that it just sits there, because that's not really what shades are designed for, unless that's what you want to go for, obviously. But yeah, as you can see, I'm just applying this all over in quite a liberal fashion. Again, we're not being precious. As it just working, as you can see, I'm working it into the arm, into the recesses of all his muscles. Basically tau flesh. As you can see here, we've got Russ Grey, which is the colour we've just used, and a small dry brush, and we're basically going over the details that we've just shaded, bringing the colour back to those with a small dry brush to simulate where light would naturally fall. In this step, you'll see me off camera here, I'm just getting some paint ready on the brush. And you basically want a small amount, and I do mean quite a small amount of this, and you're going to work it into some tissue paper here, just to get, you know, any excess off and to make sure it's covered throughout the bristles there. And then what I like to do is test it on my hand, which I'll show you shortly, as here we are, just testing it on my hand to make sure that it is a dry brush, and the clue's in the name, it's just visible there, and that's about what you want really for it. And then it's a case of just flicking it over the raised areas of the miniature to simulate where light would naturally fall and catch those raised areas. There we are. As you can see here, I've got a small dry brush, we're back again, and this time we're doing extreme highlights with Etherium blue, as you can see here. It's quite a nice colour, it's fairly light and pigmented, but it's perfect for doing this. It is a dry paint, which means that you don't actually have to wipe as much off the bristles. As you can see here, just, you know, dipping my brush into there, getting it in between the bristles, and then I'll work that off on some tissue paper to the side here. And then we shall be ready to dry brush the miniature. This just creates the final little bit of definition and gives a bit of character to the miniature. As you can see, I'm just working it off here, and here we go. Testing on my skin just to make sure it's barely anything on the brush. And then we start flicking it over the miniature's face, and it'll pick up on all those prominent features, and the raised eyebrows and around the mouth and the cheeks. And it's a really simple step. Instead of using edge highlighting, I prefer it. It's quicker, it's easier, and when you're batch painting, it really does help. As you can see, it's really brought out those prominent features, as though light was naturally bouncing off those in tabletop game. Thank you all for watching.